everyone, I hope you're doing well. It is Thursday, November 19th, 2021, and this evening I have a miniature Bible study for us taken from Matthew chapter 16, verses 24 through 28. And the title that the Lord gave me was The Cost of Following Christ. Is it worth it to you? So I'm going to begin reading and expound as he leads and go from there. Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done. Truly I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." That's really deep. Okay, so this is in the context of let's see where we are in the story. Okay, so this is after a little bit of time that the disciples have been walking with Jesus, and they've already seen him perform miracles. They've already seen many wonderful things that he has done. But now we get to a place where he's telling them, do you understand what you have entered into? Do you understand the cost of following me? And then he explains what it actually means to them. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Okay, so clearly taking up your cross is a direct reference to Jesus carrying the cross and bearing the cross and dying at the cross. So in essence, he's telling the disciples, following after me is not going to be easy. There is a lot of weight that comes with being my disciple. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with being my disciple. And at the core, the very essence of following Christ is to deny self. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Now personally, these are some of the deepest words in Scripture that I have ever meditated on and read. And many of you already know what this means. Personally, you have experienced literally losing your life that you were comfortable with, that you were familiar with, physically, emotionally, mentally, relationally, all of it. You understand that following after Christ means you're going to lose some things that you've been accustomed to. You're going to lose some people that you've been accustomed to, because it is the narrow path. It is the road less traveled. It is a very difficult journey. Okay? For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. So, for whoever would save his life, that literally means you would rather have the comfort that you're used to. You would rather stay in places that are familiar because you know how to navigate life that way. And that could be physically, but that could also be mentally and emotionally. When we get into strongholds of the mind, strongholds of the emotional part of self, generational curses, bondages of all kinds. Not wanting to get out of what is familiar to you because it presents a security blanket. It presents a version of safety. And intrinsically, as humans, we need that and we want that. So a lot of times it seems like the better option to not deviate too much from what I am comfortable with and what I'm familiar with. But he's actually saying that if you would choose that path to save your life, you will lose it because you're not actually gaining the life that you were destined to have in following after Christ. But whoever loses his life, the one that we're comfortable with, familiar with, for my sake, will find it. So it's this divine exchange. I'm letting go of what's been comfortable and familiar, and really a counterfeit of what I'm actually supposed to be living for the real deal. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? This is a very popular scripture, and it really it has been used quite a bit, actually. A lot of times in the context of famous celebrities who have chosen fame and money and what the world typifies as success at the risk of losing their soul, which is, and actually the next verse kind of confirms that. Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done. So this is referencing that we will give an account, and not only what we've done, but we will give an account to every idle word we have spoken, that's a whole other lesson and study. But so in other words, what we do here matters. How we live matters. Everything matters. So truly I say to you, this is verse 28, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So this is referencing death, the second death, which is spiritual death, which many who refuse Christ and reject Christ will experience the second death, which is spiritual, complete and utter spiritual separation from God. So I'm going to cross-reference a couple of scriptures, and right now I'm feeling that this one real quick. So, the question posed is it worth it? We know that following after Christ is not a cakewalk. It is not for the faint of heart. And it is not comfortable much of the time, because we are required to let go of what we've been accustomed to understanding that true life is. Let me see. Bear with me one sec, please. I'm trying to see if I can find a specific one. Okay, I'm not finding that one, so let's keep going. Okay, let's go back to verse 24. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Okay, so surely Jesus couldn't be saying deny yourself as in you are not important, because that isn't truth. He loves us so much and he values our soul. So he's not saying to care nothing about yourself and, throw it all out the window. What he's actually referring to is the part of self that is naturally in rebellion against his spirit, which is where understanding how to submit to God, to yield to God. As you grow spiritually, you learn that this is part of your growth spiritually and in your soul, is to surrender. But that can't happen without trust. So to deny yourself is really to deny the lies, to deny the counterfeit offer of what true life is, to deny the delusions that we have accumulated over time in thinking this is what true life is. Now, depending on where you live, it might be different, but here in the States, there is a very high esteem for success. And typically speaking, success is defined by title and status and finance. In other words, the bigger the title, the more money, and thus the more successful you are. At least that's what we've been taught. My generation anyway. I mean, I'm not sure for the younger generation these days what necessarily is the message, because certainly things have changed somewhat, but and that is a deception, because success really has nothing to do with any of those things. But because of that message that we have received, we have built our life around trying to achieve that success. And much of the time at the cost of things that are actually more important, which has led, obviously, people to all kinds of unfortunate circumstance because of a wrong understanding of what true life is about and how we are to actually live with one another. So, deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. So to take up our cross, again, when we think of the cross, we think of Christ at the cross dying for humanity. And this, for me, literally parallels the same concept and understanding of when we come to the table for communion. We are not coming trying to clean ourselves up before we come and partake. We are actually coming with our mess and remembering that I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect, but the perfect one has made a way for me. So in the very same way, when we take up our cross, we are actually proclaiming that the death has already been paid for. And I can come with my sin. I can come with my issues without shame and without guilt, but with conviction, so that I can give them to the Lord who's already taken them for me, and therefore I can follow him with a clean conscience, and I can follow him wholeheartedly because I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to be ashamed of. So what is the cost of following Christ? Because there is a cost, like I said. And I think part of why he wants me to share this now is because sorry, one sec, I just want to make sure that part of why I feel he wants me to share this now is because of the time that we're entering, which, as we know, it's not going to get easier to follow Christ. Christianity is slowly been becoming illegal, dare I say it, but it's the truth. And the reason is because, again, individual freedom, individual free will has been under attack like never before, and that's going to pour into religious freedoms. So there is going to come a time when you are going to be challenged about how much you will risk losing to follow Christ. And I think why it's so vital for us to get this now is because the risk is actually not what we think it is in a lot of ways. It's interesting for me right now, where I'm at personally, because I feel as though I have walked this out on just about every level of my life. And so I am sitting here sharing this from real life testimony. I can safely say that I've been through just about all of it. And it's not easy. And that's an understatement. If I can think of another phrase, I will say it, but it's not easy. But is it worth it? I could certainly tell you that it is worth it. It is worth being in a place internally that is sound, that is secure, that is unshakable, to handle the outside warfare. So I'm going to go back to this verse because this is a verse that he keeps highlighting. Verse 25, for whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. We all have a ideal type of life that we would like to live. And there's a reason for that. I think that I personally believe that we are born with visions and dreams from God Himself because of our calling and our purpose and our assignment here. But a lot of times, because of life, because of our past trauma, because of generational curses and bondages that we haven't healed from, we can end up again in a counterfeit version of what He actually destined for us to have. And I think that part of that journey of understanding that, assessing the life I'm trying to preserve for myself, is this the life I'm supposed to have? Or am I doing this out of fear? And fear. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I'm scared to lose the life that I've been used to. I'm scared to go anywhere else aside from what I feel comfortable with, what's familiar, even if it is unhealthy. And a lot of times you can't even acknowledge the environment, health, or I should say this, you can't fully assess the environment health until you have the heart health inspected, which is the inner healing journey. Because again, we live and we operate out of what's in our heart, and obviously what we have fed our mind to believe, our belief systems. So we're going to get into that. I know I've said that, and trust me, we're going to get into the inner healing journey on this channel. But this tonight is really it's a life status update and check for yourself. Are you willing to lose what you've been comfortable with? To go where He's called you to go. And again, the year of divine alignment. So by the end of this year, this is a question that you have to answer for yourself, because next year is a totally new year of whatever it holds. But this year has been a year of alignment. Now let me, okay. Alignment. I shared a video a few days back, and it was was a very raw testimony of some chronic pain that I was dealing with that had to do with my spine. And I spoke about alignment a little bit, I believe, but to get into alignment is actually very, very painful and uncomfortable, because you are shifting things around from crooked places that need to be made straight, and that's painful. So this year, even though it's an amazing and awesome year, it's also been very challenging, because you have been moving and shifting from what you've been used to what is completely unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels threatening, because you're not used to it. So that's what this year has been. But the beautiful part of it is that by the end of this year, you're going to be, hopefully, where you're supposed to be to enter the new year. And this question that is being posed, is it worth it to you, is something that you personally have to answer for yourself. Is it worth it to me to lose the life that I've been used to gain the life that I was always created to have? And we all have one. And part of that, again, requires denying self. And that's a process too. But I would encourage you that the first place to start with this is to ask yourself, do I trust an invisible God with my life? Because if you can't answer that question, then you're not ready for the rest of it. I cannot be comfortable in the presence of someone I don't trust. I cannot give my life over to somebody that I don't trust them with it. So, do you trust God? And if you don't, then that's something you have to work out first. If you do, then you're ready to decide for yourself, am I ready to walk this narrow path by the end of this year and moving forward? Because, as I've said before, things will continue to be challenging, and we don't want to be lost while things continue to worsen around us. We don't want to be lost internally when everything else is falling apart. That is the worst place that a human being can be. So if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. I pray that this has blessed you, and I pray that you would take this to heart and answer this question for yourself before the end of this year. I hope you guys are doing well. I love you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.